Good morning, everyone, from a very, very early Los Angeles, California, where it is 7:15 in the morning as of this taping or as of this live feed, this live stream. I'm so happy that you could join us this morning. I wish I could say I was happy about America and the stock market and democracy in danger. Our democracy is in danger. America is in danger. And as we are streaming, going live, let me show you what the stock market is doing in relation to these tariff announcements on some of our allies and against others. The Dow is down now, as we speak, more than 600 points and is expected to go down even further. We hope that it recovers. But if you look at the map, it looks like a mountain on your screen right now. Look to the far right. Look how far. Look at the downward trajectory, the nosedive of the Dow since those tariffs have been announced. We hope that that goes up, but who knows? That's the danger of what tariffs do to us. And when I talked about America first, it means America alone. It could mean America alone on the brink of disaster. I don't even know if it's on the brink anymore, if it's just a disaster that we are in. Down 600 points plus. Maybe it's made a little bit of a recovery in a few minutes, but that's not enough to be enthused about or to be positive about. So that's where we are right now. In a disastrous country, I shouldn't say disastrous country, a country with a disastrous leader who doesn't know the consequences of actions like he's taking because he's trying to own people. He's trying to prove his manhood, so to speak, or as president, his legitimacy. And that's not really working out so well for us. So I have a lot to go through this morning. And I have a lot to tell you about. And by the way, if you are someone who is just joining us, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, you hit the thumbs up. It affects the algorithm and people get to hear our conversation. But we're glad that you're here. And I have to say that I've been traveling this weekend. I'm in Los Angeles right now and out and about. I'm so really just heartened and happy about all of the people who are saying, hey, Don, I watch you all the time now. Thank you for speaking out. Thank you for creating the community where we can have some sanity, where we can tune into the news and not be enraged by everything and be guided by what's important to us instead of what someone is putting out there. A barrage of junk, a barrage of just things to keep you distracted from what is really happening. This is what it's really happening. When you put tariffs on our allies and on our trade partners, this is what it affects. I mean, you may not even realize it, just some of the things that it affects. Put it up, Andy. These are some of the goods, some of the products that is affected by this. Avocados, maple syrup, ground beef, cherry tomatoes, sugar, bananas, nuts, cooking oil, squash, cucumbers, strawberries, pineapples, Tonka trucks and toys, BMW, Audi, Nissan, Mazda, Ford. Think about it. Any of these things that you use, crude oil, beer, alcohol, lumber, steel. Let's talk about that, and shoes. Here's the thing. When you talk about lumber and steel, lumber, a lot of it coming from Canada, when you talk about those things, that's going to affect the construction industry, the housing market, the building market, steel as well. You think avocados, what does that have to do? That means, what does that have to do with anything? That means your Chipotle is going to go up. Seriously, the Taco Bell prices, all of the folks, if you go to the grocery store, you do avocado. If you go to a restaurant that uses it, whether it be a Mexican restaurant or whomever, people use avocados in beauty products, all kinds of things. It's going to affect all of that. And you're right. Basically every damn thing. Someone in the chat said, this is crazy, Cindy Turley. It is crazy. It is crazy. I have the stock market up behind me. We're looking at it. The Dow and the Nasdaq, everything is, the Dow futures are down. It's incredible. It is incredible that we're having to deal with these things. There you go. The Dow down. Now it's at 620 points. It's going to fluctuate 1.39%. This is a disaster for your portfolio. This is something that Donald Trump hates, right? And when he announced these tariffs, he said, we're going to be a little bit of pain. But when people are living paycheck to paycheck, a little bit of pain is a lot. He criticized, let's just be honest about this. He criticized the Biden administration for, all of these prices are so bad, it's so terrible. The price of eggs, we're going to bring them down, the price of oil, whatever. It's all Biden's fault. It's all so bad. People who were living paycheck to paycheck are Americans who just average everyday Americans. He said, well, we can't deal with this stuff. When people said, this fluctuates, the prices are up because of the bird flu and on and on and on. You can't really, a president can't really change the price of eggs. A president can't really change the price of gasoline. And then he said, they're lying, they can do it. And then he gets in office and he says the same thing. But when he announced these tariffs, this is what he said. Now I'll show you the danger of it after you hear from him. Here's what he said.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion. We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it fast. We're going to make America great again. We have to focus on our country. We have tremendous potential if properly used, and we have to focus on our country. Tremendous deficits with China, tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And
that sounds good, right? That may sound good for the MAGA folks and for the people who want to own libs and who are, who believe anything that a cult leader says to them. It's another con. It's also another example of the ignorance of this particular president and their particular mindset as it relates to America and our relationship and our standing in the world. We're not alone in the world. Whether we like it or not, we have trade partners, we have allies, and we have enemies. And all of those people, all of those entities affect our country. It affects your wallet. It affects your day-to-day life, whether you realize it or not. And a little bit of hurt, it can start out as a little bit of hurt, but it can last for a long time, a lot of hurt. Not a little lot, a lot of hurt. The United States and its biggest trade partners are hurtling into a new era of protectionism. Canada, Mexico, China said that they would adopt countermeasures against new tariffs levied by President Donald Trump. As we mentioned, some of the things that you use every single day in your tea, in your coffee, in the meals that you cook, honey, tomatoes, including the things that you put on your back, clothing, to quite frankly, toilet bowls. A wide range of American goods that cross the border into Canada worth more than $100 billion will soon be hit with a 25% tariff. Are you listening, America? Are you happy now? And this is just the beginning. When you look at the people who are now leading our government, who are not even elected, and making decisions for you who are not even elected, or quite frankly, appointed official government workers, government officials, not even officially that. The Doge Department, claiming that they have control, and I guess they could, over certain things, and you have not elected them to be in that position. Getting rid of USAID, that's going to affect all of us. And that's going to affect people around the country. It could actually cause death. It could actually cause people to die. The US stock sank at an open this morning as the nation braces for a new phase of global trade war. The Dow fell over 1%. If you're looking at it now, I think it was down 1.4%, or more than 500 points. The tech-heavy NASDAQ dropped 2%. The broader S&P 500 fell 1%. That's a lot. You think it's just 1%? If you think it's just 1%, it's just 2%, that's not a lot, then you're a dummy. You don't know about the stock market. You don't know about how our financial institutions work. Some of the biggest losers this morning were stocks of American automakers. Ford affected 3%. That's why I say you don't know. If you're a dummy if you don't get it. GM 5%. Tesla 4%. Oh, cry more libs. Oh my gosh. No. You are going to be hurting. It's going to hurt Donald Trump's supporters, especially those who are in red states, poor states, more than anyone. People who have fallen for the okie doke. People who have been bamboozled by Donald Trump and his ilk. Automakers run a complex supply chain web. It's between the US, Canada, and Mexico. Many also manufacture cars in Mexico. They manufacture cars in Canada before they export them to the United States. And so you are going to face a tax on those. You think tariffs are going to be bad for our allies or for the people we put tariffs on, the countries we put tariffs on, when actually it's bad for the American people. Global stock markets have slumped. The dollar strengthened. Oil prices rose. Okay? Asian markets fell with Taiwan. Oh my gosh. If we're messing with Asia, we're in a world of trouble. South Korea, Japan, they're performing the worst. The Nikkei index in Japan is down by around 2.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng has dropped 1.3%. That's in early trading. This tariff threat, or these tariff threats by Donald Trump, rattled markets in Europe as well. That's why I said we're all connected. We would like to think that America alone, that we can stand alone and we can do all those things. America's a very powerful country, but we're not alone in the world. The Pan-European Stocks 600 index was down 1.4% Monday morning. Germany's DAX was down 2%. The FTSE, as they call it, the FTSE 100 index, which tracks the 100 largest companies listed in London, fell 1.25% at the start of trading. We're in for a world of trouble. Let's put up on the full screen. This is Donald Trump announcing the tariffs. I believe this is on his, is this his social media site? We're here now, yeah. Today, I've implemented a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, 10% on Canadian energy, and a 10% additional tariff on China. This was done through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA, because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl. Let me just tell you in a plain thing, because look, maybe it's just exhaustion because I was out late and up early. This is the dumbest bullshit that I've ever heard. This man does not know, and the people around him, they don't understand how this works. And this deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl, whatever, this has nothing to do with the tariff. Most of the fentanyl does not come across the southern border. We need to protect Americans, and it is my duty as president to ensure the safety of all. I made a promise of my campaign to stop the flood of illegal aliens and drugs from pouring across our borders, and Americans overwhelmingly voted in favor of it. Now, it's interesting. Like I told you guys, this is all a scam. People aren't aliens, by the way. They're undocumented. And that's not being woke or politically correct. Human beings are not aliens. They're undocumented. And if you're a migrant, if you came here seeking asylum, then you're not illegal. What you're doing is not illegal. It's actually part of the legal process of becoming an American citizen or immigrating into the American system. So as much as they would like to really portray these people as illegal, they're not illegal. What they're doing is not illegal. And what they're trying to do is what? Cut off the legal process or diminish or shrink the legal process to make it available to fewer and fewer people. So this has nothing to do with fentanyl. This has nothing to do with people who are undocumented. This is all a scam. Just like a plane crash, planes colliding midair have nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are distracting you and enriching and lining their own pockets. That's as blunt as you can say it. So we don't even need to go through it. And I'm going to go through it, but why? This is going to affect this is going to affect that or whatever. Okay, I've been saying that all morning, but this is just dumb stuff. Let's just say it like it is in the language that people understand. Americans overwhelmingly voted in favor of it. It's not true. It wasn't the majority of American people. It's a plurality. There's a big difference. I don't have time to explain it to you this morning, but look it up. It's a plurality, not a majority of Americans. And it was not enough people who voted. It was not a big enough win that it is a mandate. So don't fall for that BS either. I'm just going to say this morning, I'm sorry. I'm just going to talk to you. If you're there, your kid's there, I'm going to say bullshit. I'm going to tell you exactly what this crap is. He said there would be short-term pain. I predict more than a short-term pain because you think Canada, you think Mexico, you think they're backing down. He thinks everyone is going to back down. Well, they're not. Here's what the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, said. The current Prime Minister, he is stepping down. This is what he said about these tariffs. Watch.
Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives. Like the American tariffs, our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes.
Okay, did you hear that? So the stuff that you had your breakfast this morning, you think like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna own the libs or whatever, or maybe you're there and you don't even know what's going on, and you're cooking breakfast, and you're having your tea, you're having your coffee, and you don't realize that the berries that you eat in the morning or throughout the day, you don't realize that the tea that you make and you love your honey and all that, that is all going to be affected. And as I said, especially lumber. If you're doing any kind of renovation on your home, if you're putting a fence up, that's all lumber. If you are redoing the siding, if you're doing the roof of your home, if someone is building an addition to something, if someone is building a house across the street from you, all of that is going to affect you, and it's going to affect the real estate market. This all has consequences, a domino effect. That Donald Trump is saying it's going to be a little bit of, it's not a little bit. It's a lot. More with what Canada is going to do.
It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment, and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more. And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships. we will stand strong for Canada. We will stand strong to ensure our countries continue to be the best neighbors in the world.
That is what the Prime Minister, now the outgoing Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is a former journalist and also is going to be the incoming Prime Minister to Canada, it is believed. This is what she said about the tariffs. Watch.
Well, great to be with you, Mika. Look, this really is utter madness. And, you know, from our perspective, the key thing here is you guys are engaged in this colossal act of self-harm. These tariffs are going to make life more expensive for Americans. You have put a tariff on the gas we sell you, so gas is going to be more expensive. You have put a tariff on the food that you are buying. That's a tax on groceries. They're going to be more expensive. We have now the United Steelworkers, the American Farm Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, all saying this is going to hurt America. Stock futures are down. You are hurting yourselves. You are taxing regular Americans. And we are going to fight back. And Canada is your biggest market. Canada is a bigger market for U.S. exporters than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. For Americans, like, you're business people, right? The customer is always right. And your customer is really angry at you. The whole country is behind the retaliation the Prime Minister has announced. So now we are going to tax American exporters who are trying to sell us stuff. That means Americans are going to lose jobs. So this is really, it is self-mutilation. America is hurting itself. We think that it is utterly crazy. And we're also really, really angry at you.
So, Madam Deputy Prime Minister, I was really struck when Prime Minister Trudeau spoke.
So, look, and that's a much longer interview. So Canada is standing strong for now. And also Mexico is standing strong. Mexico has not backed down. But there's some breaking news. Let's put up the breaking news as it relates to Mexico. And this is from the Mexican government, okay? Mexico's president says tariffs are delayed by at least 1 month after she and Trump spoke and discussed new border measures. The White House has not immediately commented, meaning she is saying we need to come up with something. The White House is saying we need to come up with something. And if you want to discuss it, then you need to stop, Donald Trump, these tariffs on Mexico. And it appears the White House has not responded. It appears that the White House has backed down because of the Mexican president's discussion with Donald Trump. The White House has not confirmed this, not confirmed that they're backing down or backing off of Mexican tariffs, tariffs on Mexico. So that's the breaking news. So our allies, our neighbors to the north and the south, not backing down. Trump backed down and is now saying that he's going to put a pause on these tariffs. Maybe he's come to his senses somehow, but I doubt it. But the breaking news now is that Mexico is saying that the United States has backed down on the tariffs and they put a pause on it after they have had some discussions, including information, including things on the border. The president of Mexico says that tariffs are off for a month after she agreed to put 10,000 National Guard at their northern border, and the U.S. agreed to clamp down on guns coming into their country. Mexico has come up with a way to keep guns from America coming into their country, and we can't even control the guns in our own country. Mexico's president standing strong. 10,000 National Guard at their northern border that she agreed to put. That's good. She's actually helping with the immigration problem, which probably could have been worked out without this. So Donald Trump is backing down. It seems the deal was Mexico sending 10,000 troops to the border, and that the U.S. is going to clamp down on guns coming in to their country. That's the breaking news here. Mexico gets a clamp down on guns, but America has a huge gun problem. Renowned economist Larry Summers breaks down the tariffs as well. Let's watch.
This is what economists would call a self-inflicted supply shock. It means less supply because we're taxing foreign suppliers, and that will mean higher prices and lower quantities. This is a self-inflicted wound to the American economy. I'd expect inflation over the next 3 or 4 months to be higher as a consequence because the price level has.
So remember the whole thing about inflation. Inflation is just so high, just so high, just so high. Now inflation is going to rise, according to Larry Summers. Larry Summers, I believe, was a Treasury Secretary, correct, guys? A former Treasury Secretary. Larry Summers is saying inflation is going to go up, at least over the next couple of months, and it could be longer lasting. Let's watch.
To go up when you put a levy on goods that people are buying. And of course, everybody who competes with a Canadian or Mexican supplier is getting a good deal. And so they'll raise their margins as well. And everybody who uses an input from Canada or Mexico in their production is going to have a cost shock, and they're going to pass it on to consumers. When consumers are paying those higher prices for the imported goods, they're going to have less money to spend on other things, and that's going to tend to push the economy downwards as well. So the idea usually in policy is to make there be lower prices and higher quantity. That's what, for example, the Keystone Pipeline would have done for oil. And I thought President Trump was right to criticize President Biden for not allowing that Keystone Pipeline. But this is exactly the opposite. Less coming in and higher prices. Inflation might go up over the next 9 months by as much as 1%, just at a moment when we were trying to bring it down to target. So I can't see anything good as policy about this.
Secretary Summers, the White House says the president.
That's renowned economist Larry Summers breaking down what the tariffs are going to do over the next 9 months to a year. Can you afford this? Can Americans afford this? Because we're trying to go it alone, because we're trying to be bullies, there are ways to negotiate these things that could have been negotiated without even the threat of tariffs. The idea that Mexico is going to send 10,000 more troops to the border, what is it really? And who's going to count it? Who's going to make sure that it happens? There are already Mexican troops on the border. What is that? But here's what you should know, which is most interesting, is that Mexico, as I said, is so concerned about the flow of weapons, firearms, going into their country and wreaking havoc on their country, contributing to their crime and to their death rates, that they have asked America and demanded that America stop the flow of weapons coming into their country. And you want to talk about crime here? Mexico is doing something about this issue, and America is doing nothing. The crime levels in Mexico can be directly attributed to the flow of weapons coming from their northern ally, or the folks to the north of their border, which is America, into their country. And they're saying, let's shut it off. Good job, Mexican president. Good job. Kristi Noem, who is going to be and not the Secretary of the Interior. But Kristi Noem is the governor of South Dakota. And here's what she's saying about the tariffs.
You know, you've seen the president take action already this week with Colombia, and you saw Colombia react in a very positive way that was good for everyone involved. Canada, Mexico, other countries have the opportunity to do exactly the same. So we have a strong leader. He has laid down exactly what he is going to do and what the consequences are. I encourage their leadership teams to get on board and to make sure that they're not pushing up prices. If prices go up, it's because of other people's reactions to America's laws. And that's what President Trump is doing. He is making sure that we're not picking and choosing winners and losers, that the law applies equally to everybody, American citizens. It applies to those who are here illegally, and our world leaders across the country and across the world. They can help us, or they're going to face some consequences. Okay.
Thank you, folks. Folks on Twitter or whatever, not on Twitter, on TikTok, telling she's the not the Secretary of Homeland, the Secretary of Homeland Security, right? Not the Secretary of the Interior. Thank you. As soon as I said it, I realized what it was. So thank you, guys. Thanks for fact checking me this morning. Also getting things that are saying that there are 100 people, just so you know, people believe that there's a coup happening and no one is stopping it, that no one is talking about it. We're going to talk about what's happening at USAID. But folks, they believe that they are seizing the federal treasury. They're saying that there are people who are blocking, there are 100 federal employees blocking doors at OPM right now. And they need press. That's where I say our democracy is in danger. Are you okay with our democracy being in danger right now? So that's Kristi Noem talking about things she has no idea about. And look, she can do, she wants to wear a cowboy hat, but why? 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 All of a sudden, now she's a cowgirl. So that's what's going to happen with the tariffs. And so now they're trying to negotiate it again. Mexico saying, get the guns out of our country. So USAID now. Let's put up the USAID information. So USAID now is being shut down. This is what Sam Stein is saying on USAID. And then we'll put up the Ben Rhodes, okay? Sam Stein saying this about USAID. This is a note that went out to all of them. At the direction of agency leadership, the USAID headquarters at the Ronald Reagan Building in Washington, D.C. will be closed to agency personnel on Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Agency personnel normally assigned to work at USAID headquarters will work remotely tomorrow, with the exception of personnel with essential on-site and in-the-building maintenance functions, etc. So USAID is shutting down. Sam Stein says, USAID tells staff not to show up at D.C. headquarters today in morning email, as Elon says the agency has been shut down. The email is from, it has the name of the person, who is Gavin Kilger. He's one of the 19 24-year-old group of Musk aides running the government now. 19 to 24-year-old group of Musk aides running the government now. That's who Gavin Kilger is. Are you okay with people who are not elected running your government? Regardless of how you feel about Elon Musk, love him, hate him, whatever, however you feel, people have strong feelings about him. Are you okay with that? A group of 19 to 24-year-olds who are running the government. This is Ben Rhodes, what he's saying about it now. Ben Rhodes says, what is happening to USAID will cost untold lives around the world. It's going to devastate America's standing and massively empower China and other countries. There's no excusing it. It is shameful. It is stupid. It's a self-owned without excuse and a harbinger of even worse to come. How the hell is this legal? Well, let's talk about that. Producer Nikki and producer Peter are on the line as well to help me get through this because it's so early here. But we were talking about as we were getting ready for the show, guys, how this is who it's going to affect. It's going to empower China and others who are not necessarily our allies, who are our enemies, and it puts them in a larger footing, at a higher profile on the world stage, and it gives them more power, and it decreases American power. Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, look, the effects of this cannot be overstated. This is madness. This is going to cause massive humanitarian crises around the world. It's going to kill a lot of people. A lot of people depend on this aid, and for it to be immediately shut off like this, it's going to be hard. I know we are going to see risks of more global pandemics as a result, but on the front of empowering other countries, yes, what basically is going to happen is this is going to open the door. It's opening the door for places like China to say, hey, look, America's not a reliable partner, because we're basically backing out. We are killing our own reputation on the global stage here. But like I said, that is just taking a backseat to the fact that there are going to be countless people hurt by this.
Well, you talked about the danger of lies that's going to happen when the people who actually count on USAID for their very survival. And when America goes it alone, what does that do to other people, right? What does that do to people around the world that we should be looking out for? Obviously, similarly as to, when we talk about PEPFAR, how it saved so many lives with, the George Bush initiative on HIV and AIDS. Can you imagine shutting that down? And now you're going to shut down USAID, which affects millions and millions of not just Americans, but people around the world.
And to that, on that light, yes. I mean, it's not just, it's children, it's women and children in other countries. This is going to stop medicines. It's going to stop support. It's going to immediately cut off support for children who maybe there are programs that offer food on a daily basis that are suffering with malnourishment. This is going to cut that off. And what's going to happen is now children who maybe this was their only source of food, their only source of nutrition, that's gone. This is going to stop any kind of services for orphans, vulnerable children, caregivers. It's going to stop any kind of research that we've been doing in other countries on potential outbreaks of things like bird flu, HIV. It's going to have global implications. And I know, Peter, I think you're on as well. I think if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, what I'd say is it's hard to read this as anything other than a complete retreat from the global stage. As Nikki was talking about, it's going to allow China and Russia to step in. And I think one thing that really needs to be emphasized here is, say you're a cynic, say you don't care at all about these millions of orphans, tens of millions of vulnerable people around the world who benefit from USAID, and you think, well, the U.S. should just be looking out for itself, America first and all that. A move like this is how you see the growth of another coronavirus pandemic. USAID's work right now is combating a Marburg outbreak in Tanzania. It is combating monkeypox across the entire continent of Africa. It's monitoring, as Nikki pointed out, bird flu. And when USAID steps back, or rather is forced to step back, is forcibly shuttered by Elon Musk and company, that means that work is just not going to get done. And you can
Peter, talk to them about the legality of all this, or the illegality.
Yeah, this is not me being a blue-haired liberal with my hair on fire. It's outright illegal, clearly unconstitutional. And what's perhaps most frustrating is it doesn't seem that anyone has the courage right now to do anything about it. I can't remember the exact case, but when folks will remember back in American history when Andrew Jackson had that famous standoff with the Supreme Court where they ruled against him, and Jackson said something along the lines of, well, the courts made their decision, now let's see them enforce it. Everyone agrees from both sides of the aisle what Trump and Musk are doing right now it's unconstitutional, but what are we going to do about it?
Yeah. What are we going to do about it when he has every single branch of government, right, on his side, and MAGA influence, including the Supreme Court? This is what it does. And I'm just going to reiterate what they said. What does the illegal unconstitutional shutdown of USAID do? It stops work battling a deadly Marburg outbreak in Tanzania and a wide outbreak of monkeypox variant killing children in West Africa before it spreads further. Someone in the text or in the chat earlier said, how cruel do we have to be? Let's go with that because that's right. How cruel do we have to be? It stops direct services for 6.5 million orphans, vulnerable children, and their caregivers affected by HIV in 23 countries. How cruel do we have to be? Someone on TikTok says, let's focus on Americans, says the MAGA Queen 3. The MAGA Queen 3, you don't understand how the world works. Because in order for America to be strong, we have to make sure that the folks around us are strong. In order to keep people from wanting to come over the border, if that's what you want, then you have to help to make the countries that surround, that are adjacent to the border, stronger. You have to improve the conditions in other places that affect you. So this dumb bullshit about let's focus on Americans first is so myopic, so limited in thinking, so quite frankly ignorant of how the world works that it is mind-boggling and mind-blowing. If Joe Biden was doing this, the very MAGA people who are in the chat saying let's focus on Americans would say Joe Biden hates America because hates children, hates whatever. That's what you would be doing. It seems like they are just letting folks drown, someone in the chat says. Yes, and that is not helpful to us. How cruel do you have to be? It stops donated drug supplies, keeping 20 million people living with HIV alive. How cruel do you have to be? How ignorant of how the world works do you have to be? How not understanding of the rising tides lifts all boats analogy that is so true about everything, that if my neighbors are doing well, then I'm going to do well. If my neighbor's property is great, that increases my property value. It's the same type of analogy. If China is doing well, and maybe it's not even our ally, then that helps us because that increases or adds to the global economy. If Canada is doing well, then America does well because they're our biggest trade partner. One of, if not the biggest. If Mexico is doing well, then if Mexico is doing well, that doesn't incentivize Mexicans to want to come to America because they're doing well where they are. Do you not understand that? They're doing it to hurt Africa too. Stay woke, yes. Sadrisha Dennis, they are. We're not just some independent thing in the world that doesn't affect the world and others around us. And if we are the biggest democracy and one of the largest economic engines in the world, then we should be well aware of our influence and how much we can help others. And if we don't help others, how much it can damage us as well. It's not just about being, we want to help the world because we are, so magnificent and amazing. And, it's also because we want to help ourselves. In essence, it's a way of being selfish. By helping others, you are helping yourself. Here's what else it does. It stops monitoring, as they mentioned, of bird flu in 49 countries. You want to talk about the price of eggs? You want to see the price of eggs go up if you don't monitor the bird flu in other countries? It stops monitoring of the bird flu in 49 countries, a disease which already killed an American on home soil. So it's killing Americans, but it's also affecting, or it has killed an American, but it is affecting the price of your groceries and your goods. How cruel do you have to be? It stops $1 billion in corporate, at least $1 billion plus dollars of corporate drug donations and coordination eradicating tropical diseases like river blindness, like encephalitis, and others on the verge of elimination in whole regions. Now imagine if that started to increase again. How would that affect us? That would mean people who are traveling to those countries, people from those countries that are traveling here to America. Those diseases don't just stay there without trying to stamp them out or to quail them. How cruel do you have to be? It stops medicines, supplies, systems, building, staff support aid, 90+ million women and children to get low-cost vaccines or vaccinations, prenatal care, safe childbirth, contraception, and other basic life-saving health needs. It trashes U.S. global standing and risks American security. Do you guys want to add anything, Nikki and Peter? What did I miss?
I think you pretty much got all of it. It's just it's dark and it's scary, and this is going to cause suffering on a global scale.
And I think another thing that's so frustrating to folks is they hear about this and they feel powerless right now. They feel hopeless right now. And part of the reason why is because they don't see anything from elected Democrats. The House has not been in session since, I believe, January 23rd. Most folks are home in their districts. Maybe they put out a tweet. Maybe they put out a TikTok or an Instagram Live. But otherwise, it seems like the opposition is totally silent. And I just think that Democrats need to wake up and really meet this moment. They should absolutely be back in DC right now. They should be marching into these offices and demanding to know what's going on, because this is crazy.
All right, stand by. I want you guys to don't go anywhere. I want you to respond to this, because this is what Musk tweeted out to on Twitter, saying, and when someone responded to him, says, WTF is Elon talking about? It's not a crime to know who is controlling the U.S. Treasury. It is a crime to hide it. So Fear, I don't know, None Inc. says, here's a list of techies on the ground helping Musk gaining and using access to the U.S. Treasury payment system. And then it has all the names of those people. One of them, Gavin Kilgore, that I mentioned, some of the 19 to 24-year-olds who are reportedly running this Doge, and folks are saying of running the government, again, according to them. And then Elon Musk says, you have committed a crime. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of the conversation we had a few weeks ago about TikTok and the stated concern that this bipartisan coalition of lawmakers gave for banning it. The concern, of course, was that the CCP had undue influence over the app's algorithm and was censoring certain stories and promoting certain other stories. I don't see how you see behavior like this online. And also, we should provide for context that account. I can't read it, but Fear Nothing, I believe, is their handle, was immediately nuked. That's internet speak for was permanently deleted from Twitter moments after Elon Musk tweeted this. So all this to say, I don't see how you can watch Musk behave this way and then not view Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, as state media, as state censored media. The notion that it's somehow criminal to report the names of government officials is absolutely ludicrous. And I find this to be a really dark sign for what's to come.
Yeah, I think it's a Fear None Inc., whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. But anyway, that's the account. And then again, listing that. And it's also, do you remember when the whole thing about Elon Musk's plane, and there was a Twitter account that sort of gave the whereabouts of his plane, not illegal, but it was upset by it. And then in this, it is not illegal to know the names of the people who are running or controlling the U.S. Treasury, etc. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then you have that. So we'll see what happens with USAID. Okay. Again, I told you it was a lot of news, and we're watching the stock market. Guys, do we know how far the market is down? Because we have other news to report as it relates to the FBI. So let's see. The market is down now, still down 150 points. So it looks like it's correcting somewhat, but still not a good day. Not a good day. Now it's down 0.34%. So let's hope it corrects. All right. It looks like it's going up a little bit. So thank goodness for that. All right. So back to our news now. What does the FBI do? Because now the FBI, what is happening? They are escorting people out of their offices. They are firing reportedly and escorting out of the offices and away from the building and out of work FBI agents who worked on Donald Trump's case or cases before the U.S. government. Above the law, no consequences. Donald Trump, a convicted felon. Here's what we know. The FBI investigates crimes. The FBI investigates a wide range of crimes, including terrorism, cybercrime, white-collar crime, public corruption, and civil rights violations. It provides assistance to other law enforcement. The FBI shares information and provides services to other law enforcement agencies, such as fingerprint identification and laboratory examinations. It gathers and analyzes intelligence. The FBI gathers, shares, and analyzes intelligence to understand and combat security threats. It protects civil rights. The FBI works to protect the civil rights of all American minorities. It combats terrorism. The FBI works to protect the United States from terrorist attacks. It combats cybercrime. The FBI works to combat significant cyber criminal activity. It combats public corruption. The FBI works to combat public corruption at all levels. And basically, it appears that Donald Trump wants to shut down the FBI. He definitely is firing and getting rid of people who he believes or knows were investigating the crimes or the alleged crimes of Donald Trump. Are you guys okay with this? You know, there are things that you can do. You do elect people on a local level. You do have a voice to be able to pick up the phone and complain about it. Thank you, Kenya G. Contact your representatives. They should be in Washington, D.C. This is a 5-alarm fire. Kenya G is right. This is a 5-alarm fire. This is why elections have consequences and people don't realize it. So when you are sitting on your couch, when you're saying it doesn't matter, when you're saying I like this man, or Biden is too old, or Kamala Harris is a woman and she can't lead, or whatever you're thinking, even Hillary Clinton, who is one of the most qualified people to be president of the United States in modern history. You're right, Kelly and AZ. This is exactly Project 2025. Think about all of the things that honestly that are happening around the country right now, around the world now, since we have, going to get rid of USAID from someone who is not an elected official. But here's what I tell you. Steve Bannon was right. Steve Bannon said the quiet part out loud, or he just said it. He said they're going to, I think he said, just flood you with a flood of poop. And everything that they're doing is a distraction, because all of those orders, that big desk of executive orders that they signed, that was a show. And guess what? Let me tell you something. The media, quite frankly, didn't have to show. That was a show that he put on. Remember the whole thing he did with his taxes when he said, this is why I haven't gotten my taxes, because I'm under audit and my taxes are so convoluted, complicated. That was a show. And signing all of those executive orders was a show as well. They could have discussed Donald Trump signing executive orders. They could have questioned him and the press secretary in the briefing room, but they did not have to show up for a photo op. There's a difference between transparency and covering the news, but also understanding as well in this environment how Donald Trump works. Yeah, we'll send a camera. We'll get the video of him doing these executive orders. And we'll parse out what's important and what's not, but we don't have to take you there live and show you what this mound of executive orders on the desk and someone bring it over. Mr. President, this is this such and such. And what does this one do? Yeah, it gets rid of all of the illegal aliens. It's a photo op. It's a distraction. Be smarter, media, when you're covering someone who likes to manipulate the media and manipulate the conversation and the national dialogue, and who likes to distract the American people with things that don't matter. Most of those orders don't have any effect at all. Which ones are really consequential? Which ones will remain standing? Because not all of them will. So it's not about the giant photo op and what he says. It's about parsing out the information. It's about digging into the information and investigating it and putting some context to it before you just go in front of a camera and say, here's what the president is doing, blah, 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 blah. And look at all those things on his desk. No. Have someone sit down, some producers and reporters, and someone who understands what happens politically, and give some context to it. And talk about why he's doing it that way. And then get the answers, not from the show. You don't have to do the show. I guarantee you, every day, if you stop airing, the show in the White House, a show, he's putting on a TV show, and so is the press secretary, every single day of the fighting back and forth. If you stop going to it live every day to increase your ratings, and you start empowering reporters to fight back, and if you actually tell them, hey, look, we're going to keep our reporter, this is what the press should do. The press should say, we're going to keep our reporters in the briefing room every single day to report on it, but we're not going to give you the live show every day. Our cameras will be there. They'll be rolling. We're not doing it live. We want the American people to have transparency, but we want them to have transparency without a show. The media is scared of Trump's lawsuits. The knees are already bent, says Donna W. You're right. So if you're up against someone who is a bully, who's a manipulator, then you have to learn how to fight back. You like the show? You like the cameras there? Then you need to give us the actual information, and you need to have your press secretary stop being so combative. Allow people follow-up questions. Allow them to do multiple follow-ups. Put someone actually in that position who knows what they're talking about, who has some experience, whose presence is warranted there. You keep talking about a meritocracy when you put people in positions and they're not even qualified for those positions. This administration needs to understand and learn, again, they need to be taught, perhaps they don't know it or they've forgotten it, that we are their bosses. The American people are their bosses. It's not the other way around. Therefore, they can't, the folks who are the eyes and ears and the representatives of the American people who are bringing the information in this instance, in that briefing room, are the American people. Your bosses. So answer to your bosses, not the other way around. This is what the American people want to know. If I'm at home, Miss Press Secretary, Miss Leavitt, person at home, people at home want to know this. They deserve these answers. How do you answer that? Excuse me, I have a follow-up. I have a follow-up, please. They also want to know this. And all of the other reporters in the room have to say, stop. My colleague has a follow-up. I'll eventually get my question in. And if you stick together and you continue to do that, then they will have no other choice but to answer your questions and to get some real results and answers for the American people instead of a show. What I'm trying to tell you, it starts in every aspect, all of it. They're putting on a show. What are you going to do in the briefing room today? How are you going to own them? You're going to let one person get one thing in and you're going to go, now, Bob, before you can even answer it. I'm going to get a smart answer, Bob. No, that's none of your business. Jane, how does that help? It's not productive. or when the press is allowed to come into the Oval Office or whatever it is, whatever show that you're putting on. So it's a show that you put on, you're signing the things, you're doing something that's distracting, and then you maybe allow some questions. And then when someone asks a question, you think it's a silly question. Some people think it's silly. I didn't think it's a silly question. Are you going to visit the site? Well, what am I supposed to go swimming? No, that's not exactly what the reporter's asking you. Are you going to go down there? And by the way, if you actually wanted to visit the site, you're the president of the United States. You can get a boat. Your answer could be, no, I'm not going to visit the site because I don't want to disrupt the progress of the work of the people, the rescue folks who are down there doing their jobs. Of the recovery folks who are down there doing their jobs. I don't want to affect those workers. Or you can say, at some point, I will go down there to the command center to see what's going on, to visit the people, and to thank the people who are helping out. But at this moment, I don't really have any plans to go down. Not, hey, what am I supposed to go swimming? Now I understand what he's saying. Maybe he's saying, oh, I can't actually go to the real site because it's in the water. But I think you get it without being a smart ass. I think you can show some degree of empathy. I think you should show some degree of understanding about what someone means when they say, are you going to go down to the site? Because that site has a command center with people who are working 24 hours around the clock, especially at the time that you were asked the question. So do you understand what I'm saying, people, about it is a show? You have to realize that this show is being produced every single day. And they're doing it probably like the news networks do every morning. What do we have on the agenda? What are we going to cut? What's in the news? Who's going to cover this? How are we going to do it? How many resources are we going to devote to it? And then who's going to put it in their show and display it to the American people throughout the day? Who's going to, the morning, start with the morning show. Morning show's rolling while we're in the meeting. They're talking about this. Now, what are you going to do for the later shows in the afternoon? And that is what the White House is doing. They're producing a show every single day. So the network should be savvy to this. They should know how to do it. Donald Trump's show today is, he's the main thing. This is his primetime show, right? Donald Trump's show today is signing executive orders, a barrage of them on his desk. So then how do you cover that? How do we unproduce the production madness that's happening? You have to meet them where they are. You have to beat them at their own game. It's a game for them. And it is not productive for you. It does not help you, the American people. It does not help the American people. Before we go, do we have any other breaking news that we need to talk about? That's what I need to know. Okay. So apparently, when it comes to the tariffs, there's been, they're working on something with Mexico. Let's see what happens with Canada. Let's see what happens with Canada. They're going to put 10,000 troops at the border. That's what she says. How do they know that's really going to happen? And Canada got the best part of the deal. Stop sending guns into our country. Okay, says Don, move on. We know this. Okay, says that. All right. I just want to make sure that you know, because some folks are saying you're right. Maybe folks don't know this. It seems that people don't know this. So let's talk about folks who are also hurting in our country. People who live here who are suffering from the fires. I know the fires have gone out of the news. They're away from the headlines right now. But last night, there were the Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. And people were concerned about it because of this sort of, maybe it's a let them eat cake sort of aspect to it. But they did the right thing and they made it a fundraiser. So as we talk about the Grammys in Washington, I want to tell you, make sure you, in California, in Los Angeles, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the thumbs up. It affects the algorithm. Like and subscribe. So it was a very interesting day and evening in Los Angeles, California. I don't know if you guys saw all the madness that was going on in some aspects and all the goodwill that was going on as well. And there was, I believe, some justice being served as well. So they've raised over $7 million, probably $8 million by now, for people who were affected by the fires in California, artists and such. The Los Angeles County firefighters came out to thunderous applause, a very long standing ovation last night as they announced the big award of the evening, which was Album of the Year, which was Beyonce winning. Now, this is a little bit unusual, but I'll show you this morning if you're watching. Dapper Don at the Grammys. Thank you, TA. This was the moment last night when finally, after winning the most Grammy Awards in the history of any artist, I believe Beyonce, she'd never won the Album of the Year. She finally won the Album of the Year. This is my response, by the way. Here it is.
Elected by the 13,000 voting members of the Recording Academy, the Grammy goes to Cowboy Carter.
All right, Don, you were a little crazy last night. That was Beyonce right there. Lower the volume a little bit. That was Beyonce with her daughter going up on the stage last night, Blue Ivy. And again, for the first time. And look, remember for the Country Music Awards, she got snubbed. And I wasn't the only one that excited in the audience. Look. And so she got snubbed, but then she got the Country Album of the Year award. And then she got the Album of the Year award, finally winning. And her daughter, Blue Ivy, walked her up on stage and said, Mama, go up on stage. Because she was reluctant. She couldn't even stand up. So that was a great night. So some justice there. Also, let's see. I won't show you all the other things. So I'll show you a little bit of it. We were live streaming it. If you haven't seen if you didn't see our show yesterday, which says, live from the Grammy Awards, which was a great show. I was live on the red carpet with Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat is one of the biggest streamers in the world. I think it's over 11 million or 13 million followers or whatever. And people, just millions and millions of people watch him every day. And he streams all day long. He plays video games or whatever. But they are realizing the power of social media, the power of streaming, the power of digital media, and they're leaning into it because they had Kai Cenat out on the red carpet and they had me out on the red carpet and we were just streaming live. We were not behind barricades. The traditional old school media was standing there and there were barricades and the media would walk, the nominees and the, I don't want to say dignitaries, but the celebrities or the stars would walk by and they would call them over and they would hope that they would do an interview and they would do this sort of traditional standing there. We had no barricades. When they got out of the car, we were right there. And we just got to talk to them, just standing there. No barricade, no rope, no nothing. Just standing there. And that's the way that it's going. And the Grammys are leaning into it. So this is a little bit, I want to show you a little bit of the red carpet or a little bit of the arrivals. This is Kai Cenat, one of the biggest streamers in the world. Just a young man who streams from his living room. Here it is.
Who are you listening to?
Right, like right now?
Yeah, right now.
I'm listening to, right now on my playlist, I'm listening to, let's go ahead and go with Billie Eilish. I'm listening to goddamn Dior versus You. I'm listening to goddamn, everybody, bro. Everybody. You can go to my playlist if you want.
What you got?
Let's see what I got, chat. So let's see what I got.
All right, lower it a little bit.
Going through
anyway, millions. Look, this young guy. Just from streaming from his living room and playing video games, millions and millions and millions of people watch him. Whether you like it or not, this is how people are getting information. And we're standing there, and the folks we're coming out, all of them coming out of their cars, right behind him. He said Kanye West. Okay. So let's talk about Kanye West. So Kanye West, thank you guys. You can take that down. So Kanye West. There was this rumor going around that Kanye West was not invited because of all the things. Let me take it back. Kanye West tweeted some really unusual things, some disturbing things to many people this past weekend. And a lot of people were concerned about it. And so we were there not to talk about those things, but I was going to ask him about it, but he ran away. I wanted to ask him about his music first and then go into those other things. But then he ran away and said no interviews. But Kanye West showed up in 2 platinum or silver Maybachs to the Grammy Awards, and his girlfriend in a fur coat. We did not know what was underneath. He took a different entrance than everyone in. He tried to take a secret entrance in, but he couldn't hide from us. And so everyone was like wondering, like, why is Kanye here? We didn't know he was coming. No one got an interview with him but me. It was very short, but I was the only one to get it. So here's Kanye West yesterday, and I'll explain to you what happened after.
When is Bully gonna come out? When is Bully coming?
Yay. I changed my name to Yay.
Yay.
Soon this year, though.
When is Bully coming out?
This year.
This year.
Okay. And then I don't know if we have the other one. So I asked him, I said, Kanye, when is Bully coming out? Which was his new album. And he said, I changed my name to Ye. It's not Kanye. It's like, okay. So then afterwards, I asked him about an artist or whatever. What artist? Do we have that one?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. Go ahead and play it. Let's see.
Hey, the #1 artist you want to put on right now?
Give me a second. I'm focused.
No interviews. No interviews.
And then his manager was like, no interviews. It was very odd. And so, but we didn't know how odd it was going to get. And I don't believe we have the video of it. But again, then, and I don't even know, can we even show that video? Because once he was on, he didn't really go to the red carpet. He just stood there and took a picture, didn't talk to reporters. His girlfriend took off her fur coat and basically, could we say that she was naked? Was see-through? Is that fair to say, guys? I don't know. Nikki, anybody? Bueller?
I did not. Yeah, it was certainly something.
Very scantily dressed, and I believe it was almost like a kind of blurred image of what was underneath. And so she started to disrobe in front of the cameras. And so it was said, this rumor started to go around that Kanye West was not invited to the Grammys and that Kanye West was escorted out of the Grammys or asked to leave. And she was naked, says Amanda Belcher. And so when I was leaving, I just happened to be walking out and one of his representatives said hello to me. He says, oh, Don, how are you? She goes, oh, I saw your post on what happened with Kanye. And she said, look, I want you to know, and you can post about it, that Kanye was invited to the Grammys and Kanye was not, she said, that's a fact. And Kanye was not asked to leave. He had something else. He only wanted to do the photo or the red carpet and then leave. He did not want to sit for the Grammys. He didn't want to answer questions from any reporters. So then he goes, no questions. That's why he probably said to me, I'm focusing right now. And then he said, his guy said no question. So that was the only response we got from Kanye at the Grammy Awards yesterday. But to correct the record, because a lot of folks wrote about it, that's what Kanye's folks are saying. Now, others are saying that he was asked to leave, that he wasn't invited, but I'm being told that that was not true. Okay? So that is your news of the day. I can't believe we've been going for such a long time here. That is your news of the day. It is very early where I am. Did I miss anything, producers? Anything else you guys want to talk about? No? Yes? No?
I think we're pretty good. Sorry, Nikki. The only new item I saw is that Canada just announced that starting tomorrow in all state-run liquor stores, they will be removing all American alcohol, period. Blanket ban. So just interesting, given the fact we saw movement, at least on the Mexican tariffs. It seems like the situation in Canada does not appear to be trending in the same direction.
Yeah. So it looks like there are no compromises being met.
That's what it looks like right now. Yeah.
At least not at this point.
At least not at this point. Okay. So look, everybody, let me read some of your things. Thank you guys in the chat. I appreciate you. Yeah, womp womp. So good morning, everybody. Where are you streaming from? How are you feeling about the news this morning? Do you think that there should be compromises? I think they should make compromises. I would hope that all of this stuff is going to work out in some way. You appear to be happy with what's happening in Canada. There was drama. By the way, last night, the Grammys, I got to tell you, that was one of the best Grammy shows that I had seen in a while. Okay. So look, I won't keep you long because I know you have a long day, but now you know. So don't sit there in front of the TV all day and worry about the stock market. It's all going to it'll correct itself, but do what you can. Call your lawmakers, get them on the line, and make sure you subscribe to our stuff, okay? And I'm going to see you back here this evening at 5 o'clock Eastern live for Live at 5, okay? I love you for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We